Hey everyone, and welcome back to Chuck's Contractor Corner. I'm your host, Chuck, and today I've got a special guest with me. He's been a pioneer in the snow removal industry up here in Canada. I've got Jean-Luc with me here today from Sig-Nature, which is his commercial company, and then as well as Chasse-Neige, both based out of Montreal up in Canada. So Jean-Luc, thanks a lot for joining me on the show today.
Nice to meet you all, everybody, and I'm happy to be with you, Chuck, this morning.
Perfect. Thank you. And so before we dive in, why don't you tell our listeners where you're calling in from, and more importantly, what is the weather like out there in your neck of the woods?
Right now, you mean?
Right now. I know we're not in the middle of winter, but that's a question I ask every guest at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh, it's a good weather. We're okay to work. We still do landscape in the summertime, and it's hot. We're entering the hot period for our employee to work outside, but it's very good. Everything is good for us.
Yeah. No, we definitely, obviously, we're somewhat close, obviously, with me being in Ottawa. So for the weather patterns that we get, we typically see some of the same storms over the course of the wintertime as they kind of travel from kind of the northwest down towards the Ottawa and then through to the Montreal area. So it's definitely a very similar climate to you guys out there in Montreal. And so I know you guys both handle landscaping and snow removal, which is obviously a great combo, and it's a combo that we see a lot of snow removal guys take on in the summer. So how's the transition been for this spring season into the landscaping season?
It was an easy transition because we had those big snowstorm in February this year. And after that, it was quite like, it was not busy. It was not a busy snow ending season. So it was a good transition, and we were in good shape to start the season, and everything looks good, other than the economy with our neighbors is a bit slower than we're used to. But still, we're very lucky because of the Sig-Nature, Chasse-Neige. And we own also a company in Montreal called Neige. With those three companies of snow removal, we get a lot of customer from that client base. So we still have a lot of work to do this summer. So transition was good. The winter for us was very good. I mean, on a financial standpoint. So when you start a new season with a good one behind you, it's good. So it's all positive for us.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps to get a good amount of snow. I think late in the season, meaning February, right? February is obviously that heavy month of snow, and like you said, we had those same big storms in the middle of February, and then things kind of eased off, after that, which is always easy. For the equipment, obviously, I know for us having to go out in late March, early April is always a headache because the ground is so soft. You end up causing, quite a bit more damage during those type of snowstorms than you do, let's say, in the
snow also. Heavy snow.
Yeah. The type of snow that we get in late March, April, especially out in your way near Montreal, there's a lot of water with the St. Lawrence being around there that ends up packing a lot of that heavy wet snow, which is always a trouble, for us snow guys. So, and how long have you been kind of running Sig-Nature and Chasse-Neige? How long you been in the industry?
So I started in seriously in 1997. So and the Sig-Nature business started in 1992, but it was more on the landscape side and landscape maintenance. And then we add the snow removal couple years after, but it was more like subcontractor. And we went very seriously in 1997, 1998. And we based our business model on acquisition because between you and me in my area, there was a lot of people that was tired about snow removal, and we were in the middle of two kind of technology. That's what I saw at the beginning of the 20th century. That was the period of the new kind of style of blade, extendable blade, and tractors coming in the market. The guys were throwing out their pickup truck to bring tractor in. It was a new area of high volume snow management. So we jump in that market right away. And we decide in maybe 2003 to go full throttle and on the acquisition. And since 2003 to up to today, we did over 45 acquisition around us. So our density became very dense.
Yeah, yeah, I know Montreal. Montreal's a very, very high density area for snow removal, especially on the residential side. I think that's in my mind, from the research and the people I've talked to, it seems like it really started in Montreal back in the 90s with that inverted blower tractor model. And I know in Ottawa, it wasn't too long after, kind of in the early 2000s, that you had a few bigger companies start to pop up and kind of copy that same model from Montreal. So it's definitely a unique business model in terms of the really placing a big importance on the density, right? The density is the biggest thing, where you can have as many properties to clear in a small amount of space, right? Whether it be one or two or three streets, and being able to do essentially hundreds of properties within a 4 or 5 hour period, right? So I think you guys were definitely the pioneers out there in Montreal to kind of start that, and especially in the late 90s, I think that's when it kind of really took on and became kind of a business model in and of its own, right? So now, how
Yep.
about that first year when you first started in '97? What did that first year look like? What kind of equipment were you using right at the beginning there? And I guess when did that transition kind of happen to kind of going towards the tractors and the inverted blower model?
Honestly, it was a nightmare. We went out with pickup truck, and just to tell you my evolution, so we went from old pickup to new pickup, and then I was crazy, I think, but I put a snowblower on a pickup truck. That was one of the most expensive and worst decision I made. And then we went up to, like I told you before, '03, and we began to buy tractors. But tractor was not necessarily the final decision, because you need to know that we were doing, and I had that conversation one time with you, we were doing residential and commercial all together. So we moved from '03 to tractor to loaders in '06. So that was the evolution. The beginning, I guess your question was a tough one, with all can happen on a pickup truck, especially old one in a snow removal. With we were starting our work, and we never knew when it's finished. So we were like, for 20 centimeter, we were being out for 1 week. It was a disaster. But that was the growing pain. That was the learning curve.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think a lot of snow guys kind of go through that. Maybe not as much nowadays, because I think the inverted blower and tractor model has been around now for enough that as soon as somebody does a little bit of research on residential snow removal, that's kind of what they find right away. At least that's how I kind of stumbled upon it. About 4 or 5 years ago, I started researching that before I started my own company 3 years ago. And for me, it was a no-brainer to essentially go with a compact tractor. Yes, it's a smaller tractor with a smaller blower, but when you have a very high density, well, the road speed doesn't affect you that much, right? The bigger tractors versus the smaller tractors, if you're not maxing out that speed up to 40, 50 kilometers an hour, what's the point of going with a bigger tractor, right? I think those smaller tractors are kind of the way to go when it comes to high density, very high density areas. And as well as the training for operators is much easier on those hydrostatic transmissions rather than a shifting transmission, right? As soon as you get into that, you have to really have guys that know what they're doing and know how to operate that specific equipment, versus just putting a new guy into a compact tractor with a hydrostatic and saying, this is the reverse pedal, this is the forward pedal, and go
Sure.
at it, right? So and in terms of the equipment that you guys went to in '03, when you guys kind of went to the tractor blower model, what type of blowers did you guys use? Did you guys and in terms of tractors as well, were you guys on the compact tractors or much larger agricultural tractors?
No, it was the 6,000 series of John Deere's. It was like standard, like 85 horsepower tractor with standard blower in the back and plow in the front. And we were mixing like first 2 hours doing residential, and then jumping on little commercial place like little store, gas station, all those little places. And we were mixing all this. And after that, maybe later, '08, I think a couple of years after, we decided to completely split the two businesses. So we had that Chasse-Neige was really residential and Sig-Nature became only commercial and institutional work. So at that moment, we decided to grow on a standardized. I don't know if I can, everything was standard. So we were buying all tractor the same. We didn't have it. That's very funny that you talked to me. You talked to me about that today because me and my partner Danielle are record. We do some masterclass right now that will be available on our FolloSoft site really soon. And one of our first subject is everything that we're talking about right now. And the decision between inverted blower and standard blower was based on, is it a new sector or an old sector? Because in my city, there's both of them. When it was new residential sector, it was very easy to move around, and those inverted blower was very fast and very easy to operate. In the old sector, where all different type of housing all together, the urban plan was not as good as it is today. So everything was mixed up. There was a slope. There was parking between two houses. It was a nightmare. We still use standard blower with inverted blade in the front, extendable blade in the front, because we need to manipulate that snow. So we split those two kind of equipment, but everything that we buy today, it's always standard. If we buy a 20 compact tractor with those blade in front and blower, and everything is the same brand, the same parts. That's our business model.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's definitely important to, like you said, standardize the equipment that you have, not only for the operators, right? If they have to hop into one machine into the other, and then today this guy booked off, so he's got to go in the other machine. At least there's, like you said, there's standardization there where they can just hop in any machine and operate any of it because it's all the same.
Maintenance team also, the garage team needs to learn all those machines. And if you've got some service truck on the road, you want to keep PTO, you don't want to have a different one for each machine. So everything is the same. And this is all our business model based on standardization. We don't take every detail need to be managed. So this is the first part of what we care for. Everything needs to be the same. Everything needs to be planned and prepared. Everything needs to be new or quite of. We don't use tractor for 10 years. I'm not saying that buying used tractor is not good, but it's our business model. We buy tractor with 5-year warranty. We sell them back after 3 years. So our customer that buy our tractor still have 2-year warranty left. So when they ask us that something can break, everything can break, but it's all covered. So it may help us turn the fleet, and that's how we work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I've taken the same approach. Apart from the first 2 machines that I bought that first year, I went used just on the financial side to ease the wallet a little bit. But since then, every other machine I've gotten has been brand new with that extended 5-year warranty, and that way there's you're covered for that whole 5-year period if you decide to keep the tractor that long. And like you said, I think a lot of guys are selling them after 3-4 years, right? That way they're able to flip that. The person buying it has a bit of value in that tractor still with the warranty still left, and that way you're able to just keep new machines every time, right? I think I've definitely taken that approach now going forward with machines. I know for us, on the blower side, we've decided to test out a few blowers just to see what was out there, what was working good, what wasn't. So there's definitely an adjustment period for us in the first few years to kind of figure out which blower do we want to go with, like you said, just to kind of standardize that side of the operation, right? So now I know you mentioned you've split off the residential company essentially with the commercial company. Why don't you tell our audience here a little bit about why you did that, and why is that important in actually splitting the commercial and the residential divisions and to kind of manage those separately?
It's 2 complete different businesses. It's 2 kind of schedule. Residential, we work most of them to do our cleanup in the daytime. we start at the end of the night, so beginning of the morning. And the commercial, we start at the end of the day. So it's most of all night work or evening work. So, and it's different type of personality behind those tractors. So, it's not the same operator that works in tractor to do residential, and the guys that operate loaders don't necessarily want to do house, and vice versa. It's a completely different business. And if you do both, you want to do big volume, there will be some pain that will come with that. I mean, you will finish your residential work, you'll be tired. It's 8 o'clock, you close the shop, everything is done, everything is perfect. But now there's a team coming out for commercial. And when you will go for the breakfast next morning because your commercial, everything is done, there's another team coming out for residential for another cleanup the next morning. It's tough to. The only reason I was lucky enough to drive those two business is because I had 3 good partners that was taking care of that with me. So one was taking care of one business, and the other, Daniel, was one of those guys. Daniel is the partner in the Chasse-Neige business, and he was taking care of it. So we decided to split it, and it was the best decision. So we grow those two business next to each other, but not the same operation, not the same team, not the same building. Also, if you can do it, you do it. But as long as we went bigger and bigger, the needs change. So we went from a 2 separate building, 2 separate schedule, and it works fine. Very good today.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, the guys that are in the industry, typically they kind of know that there's different schedules and it's a different, different equipment, different type of clients that you're dealing with, obviously with both commercial and residential. But I think a lot of guys, especially in smaller towns, maybe not in high density areas like Montreal or Ottawa, but a lot of guys are doing both, right? I'd say probably the majority of snow removal guys out there are doing both, right? They kind of have their residential routes, they have their commercial routes, they go out, like you said, overnight, clear all their commercial industrial lots, and then they go out in the early morning or I guess mid to late morning and clear all the residential properties, right? I think that's something that will never really go away. The guys that are doing 2, 3, 4, around $500,000 a year are just not able to kind of really bring a lot of density and scale both sides of the businesses because it's just one business, right? It ends up being one business that they're trying to scale. And I mean, nowadays in business, it's all about kind of niching down and focusing on one thing or one service or one aspect, and really just making a lot of money and high service with that one service that you offer, right? So I think splitting that off is definitely something that a lot of snow removal guys out there could be doing and just aren't because they feel like they're scared to kind of divide those up into 2 segments, right?
It is one of the 5 most popular questions that people are asking me. Do you suggest us to do residential, commercial, or both of them? And I'm always asking a couple of questions just to answer that first question. And where does the opportunity come from? Are you already in the residential business? Are you already in the commercial? Both are good. It's not black and white. And after that, there's other question. If you're already in residential business, did you maximize your revenue, your density? Have you been at the end of that process before starting something else? And sometimes people listen to those little theory and they fix their objective and makes good business. And I'm happy about that. That's why we do masterclass right now, me and Danielle, because every month there was people asking us for, can you share that experience? And we were not organized. Now we are. So it's part of our FolloSoft platform to not only supply a software to people, but give experience, share experience, and support those entrepreneurs growing their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely.
We're not saying we've got the perfect, but
the magic key.
we share what we did, and what we did works, and we share also numbers when people are in our FollowSoft community. We share our number, and look, it works. there's money at the end of the day. We're not just shaking money, we're making money. So we want you to make money. So that's the goal.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to those master classes for sure. I'll definitely be taking part in that, and I know we'll have a bit more of an in-depth discussion towards the end of this podcast about FolloSoft itself. So it's obviously something that we both share. But I guess looking back at those early years when you first started out in the late '90s and early 2000s, like what's one thing I guess that you wish you would have known or somebody would have told you before getting into the snow removal game? Is there something that really stands out now, looking back years prior, at something that you wish you could have done different?
A lot of things. Uh, I was a, I was afraid between you and me of the financial aspect of all this. So we start with use rough equipment. But if I look back and I had moved to borrow money and bought the good equipment the first time, I will have saved a lot of trouble and years, and my growth will be today bigger than what I have. But there was no master class. There was no good mentor at the
Yeah.
before. But that's another good question, because on the commercial aspect, I bought a company in Montreal from three brothers that was doing what we're saying today: density, standardization, all the same equipment. And they were very careful about planification. You know, if you park your tractor at the end of a snowstorm and your employee told you, hey, there's a little noise in the blower, you've got more than 50% chance to start the other snowstorm with a tractor that will be out of work in the first hour. So you need to
Yeah.
take care of everything. And those three guys show us. Can we say that in English? The word rigor?
Rigor, comme
Rigueur, can we say? Yeah. So they were very good in planification, and they show us a lot of good things, that a lot of good advice that we still follow today. Good equipment, standardization, stay in what we know, residential or commercial, not both at the same time. That was a mistake of not knew about that. Time go by and we fixed all this by the time, but it took us a long time to figure all this out. I
yeah.
don't want the new guy to go through those pain. I want the guy to take good decision today. And it's why I like to be involved in mentoring and say, hey, did you think about that? And when you show them and you explain, they listen. And the young guy today wants to make money faster than we did. So they listen about those advice.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot of young, motivated entrepreneurs out there. I think in the snow removal industry, it's not necessarily a very flashy industry that attracts,
No.
a lot of people, like maybe plumbing or electrical or any of the other kind of bigger trades, in terms of the impact on the industry itself. But I think you're absolutely right. I think the young guys are willing to learn, and they want to learn, right? And it's just about implementing those things that have been tested and over the years, right? So snow removal, I think as a whole, when it comes to residential and commercial, a lot of guys just say, well, I want to do snow removal, so I'm going to just try and take on anything that I can, right? So if I get this apartment complex, I'll try and take it. If I get this commercial lot, if I get these 10 laneways on this street, I'm just going to take everything I can and run with it, right? But I think a more strategized approach is maybe a little bit better. I know when we started, I looked into commercial versus residential to see what the opportunities were in our market here. And I could see that on the residential side, there was a big need in the market for a more reliable premium residential offering. And that's where we essentially hit it, right? So from year one, I said no to commercial. I said no to even bigger condo parking lots, because a lot of those require different machinery, right? You can't just run an inverted blower through parking lots like that. I mean, it's doable, but you're going to be wasting a ton of time, and it's not the most optimal way to do it. So we focused on just the regular single family townhome semi-detached properties where we could essentially build up density in certain neighborhoods. And a lot of us are more dense neighborhoods, or the newer neighborhoods where a lot of the people from the city that previously have hired for snow removal are now moving in. And I think that's an approach that a lot of the younger guys should take is kind of picking one and going with that one, right? So if you want to go commercial first, you have a few pickups, you want to start that way. But eventually, I think the equipment is something that you really need to look into. On the commercial, obviously, the bigger loaders are kind of the way to go versus the residential. The tractors are maybe a little bit more of an option, right? So now, in terms of when you started out, in terms of pricing, I know that's something that stumps a lot of contractors starting out. What was your kind of approach to pricing when you first started out on the residential versus the commercial side, and how were those different between both of them?
It was the worst one, the worst way to work. We were quoting job by checking what others were quoting. That is the worst thing to do. So one day we decide to put all this in the garbage. We work on our costs and we decide to put our own pricing, and people wants to work with us, and people that don't want to work only want to work for, I mean, on pricing, they can go check for another supplier. That was the first, that decision came also maybe 2008, 2010. We decide to be very like picky on our pricing and stop looking after the other. And everybody was telling us, you will lose all your customer. People are not willing to pay more to get service. People don't like to pay for snow removal, but we still grow today with maybe average or higher price of the market, not the cheapest price. And the question you told me is, what was the price between, we standard in the residential, we standardize the price also, other than calculating square footage, and we automate all those pricing in our system. We put, even if the parking was a bit bigger, a bit smaller, it was all the same price, help us make volume. And we went from that and got a good business today with this.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, no, I think on the residential side, it's definitely easier to standardize the pricing based on the size
sure.
of the driveways, right? I know for us, we typically you'll see single, double, and triple laneways in our area. You might see some, like you said, that are a little bit longer, a little bit wider here. But I think if you just standardize that, and like you said, even if it's a bit smaller, that ends up evening out at the end, right? So standardizing that is obviously something that I think keeps it simple. You don't have to individually quote each and every driveway that you're going to be servicing. On the commercial side, obviously, there's a more unique approach to that where you have to kind of customize each and every quote that you give out based on the property dimensions and how complex, how many little islands and curbs are there within the parking lot. Those kind of things obviously change, the pricing strategy, right? So,
And you need
and
to
then
be creative. You need to be creative also. We put a limit of centimeter in our contract, so that make us able to negotiate with people. I mean, on the commercial side, on the residential, we still have those clauses, but we've been very creative in the last 10 years. There's a lot of our customer only pay for the snowbank that the city push in front of the driveway. They don't want to move their car. They want to shovel a bit, but they don't want to shovel that snowbank that the city push. It's too hard and makes us, even if it's half price of a parking, it give us a lot of business. So we went creative in the offering that we had and makes good number at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's a service that people overlook on the residential side is just the plow ridge. Like you said, I think there's a big part of the market that just doesn't want to do that plow ridge, right? They shovel or they snowblow. And even with a walk behind 2 foot wide snowblower, it's still pretty tough to get rid of some of those plow ridges that the municipality lives behind. I know for us, it could be 3-4 feet high on big storms.
The picket that we install, there's some code, there's some special code. So hey, why did my neighbor's got a special sign on the picket? It's because he only paid for the snowbank in front, or
Yeah.
with FolloSoft, it helps us all managing those little details, but there's a lot of opportunity to grow the revenue of a snow removal business. You just need to open your offer and people sign.
Yeah.
When
Yeah. I completely.
the density is high and you're strong in the market, the customer will follow you.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think testing out different services is a good thing as well. If you've grown that density up after 4 or 5 years within your town or your city, and you want to test out additional revenue streams to be able to say, okay, listen, we're going to offer, maybe a platinum package. I know in Ottawa, you see a few companies have kind of a platinum package, which is essentially a 2.5 centimeter service trigger instead of the typical 5 centimeters. And then some of the contract items might be a little bit different, where there's a bit more offered on the platinum service. And then, like you said, with the snowbank or the plow ridge clearing, where you offer just that at half price, I mean, you're still making pretty good money on those properties, because you're not servicing those for 2-3 minutes at a time. It's a quick minute to clear that snowbank and you're out of there. I think it's a good way for companies to test additional revenue streams year
There-
after year. And if it doesn't take off, then you can that
Shocking.
additional upgrade and go forward, right?
There's a lot of people that were telling me before, we don't want to do manual shoveling by hand. It's terrible. It's a nightmare. But Chuck, we do good money with manual shoveling. We have a lot of subcontractor that take care of a route every winter for us. We give them 100 houses, 200 houses, whatever. We make a deal each year with them. They are very reliable. They come, and there's good margin for us on that little aspect. And there's a lot of needs for manual shoveling. And also there's manual shoveling that you can do after snowstorm. It's not busy. Like, you sell the front of the main garage door and the main walkway. This is automatically done in the snowstorm, but you can also upsell little path in the backyard or the patio or whatever. And there's, at the end of the day, when you accumulate all those revenue and you share with your subcontractor that do the job for you, there's good margin on that. And we always took care of that. And it was a good part of our profit. But I still here, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to hire some shovelers, but it's a business plan. It's a business model. And as Chasse-Neige and Sig-Nature, we take care of all those revenue sources. We want to put our hand on everything, because at the end of the winter is finished anyway. So
Yeah. No more money to be made in the
let's
spring
take
and in the
everything we
summer.
can. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. So why don't we fast forward then to today? Paint us a picture of kind of the operation on both the commercial and the residential side. How many units you guys have? What's the service territory look like in your area? Tell us a little bit about that.
The Chasse-Neige business is around 7 to 8,000 customer. It's a mix of new sector, old sector, like I told you, and multi-unit, like condos and apartment building. And it's around maybe 80 piece of equipment, maybe 3 different configuration. The compact tractor with blade and blower, the standard 6000 series John Deere. We're only in John Deere on the tractor side. We don't go other. It's the way to go for us for resell and quality, and also because the dealer is 5 minutes from our place. So we've got 3 configuration. We've got the compact, we've got the 6000 series, and now we're entering a new tractor that it's not a high volume fleet tractor, but it's a specific tractor. It's the better tractor. Better tractor is the tractor for your foreman, the guy that is with you since 10 years and take care of a lot of stuff. Those guys can handle to learn, because learning to operate a better tractor, it's 50 hours. So if you give this tractor to anybody you don't know and the guy left after 1 month, it's another 50 hours. So you give those tractor to your main people, and that's the Chasse-Neige size. It's maybe around 5 million revenue. The Sig-Nature side, that's a big chunk. It's near 18 million revenue. Near with the salter, pickup, loaders, and if you calculate a snow raider as a machine, snow raider for a walkway, it's near 300 piece of equipment, 700 employees. And it's a big operation, but it's one of the most stable operation that I ever saw in industry. And the team here at Sig-Nature it's a fantastic operation team. It's all loyal guy and very trustable people that work in that. We're very proud of that business. We're proud of the two business, but this one is the one I take care of. So very proud of it.
Yeah. No, it seems like you've grown quite the operation there on both sides. I know on the residential side, I mean, in my mind, anything over 5,000 clients for a residential snow company is huge, right? Even 2,000-3,000 is still pretty big. But obviously on the commercial side, there's a lot more opportunity. Obviously in Montreal, I think your area is definitely a good area to expand both the residential and the commercial sides. You know, some towns in Canada, whether it be in Quebec or Ontario, may not have as much commercial or industrial properties in their town. I know for us, there's a little industrial kind of commercial sector. But unless you get a good amount of those properties in those areas on the commercial side, you kind of have to spread out a little bit more and maybe go into some of the other towns. And
we receive an average of 215 centimeter a year of snow. And what I analyzed in the past about all the Ontario and north of United States place that receive snow, there is a lot of area that receive half of what we receive. And still, with half of that amount of snow, they still got demand for quite the same numbers of business than us. So I think that between 100, 200 for us and 300 for the northern side, there's still a lot of business to make, and people are shy to develop those business, but there is so much opportunity on the market right now to grow snow removal business. It's just that we're all work on a different model. Ontario and the United States still work on, I'm charging you every time I'm coming. We work on annual contract. And I'm always tell those guys, hey guys, stop those things. Work on annual contract. Yes, but we don't know how many times we'll go out. Put some limit on your contract. Put some clause. Put some fuel clause if you're afraid about that. But build your contract and go get the job and build density and build some volume.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I think a
can
lot of
tell
the
you, sorry, Chaga.
go ahead.
I can tell you other number that are interesting in our area. Average of 50% of the people, they take a snow removal contract on the residential side. On the commercial side, it's over 90% of the business that they give a snow removal contract. When we're talking about density, 50% of the people in your area are open to take a snow removal contract, and you can put your hand on 25% of that. Now you're building density. It's what we experience, I mean. So the target is to get our hand on 25% on each market. Now you're building profit and money, and you can get an infrastructure around that to make profit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that the pay per push, as they call it in English or down in the States, a lot of those obviously are based off of, like you said, those 100 centimeter climate areas where there's not as much snow, and they feel like that's the only way that they can charge and actually run a snow removal business is by just paying per push. But I completely agree. I think the seasonal contract model is definitely on there, especially on the residential side, but I think just as much on the commercial side, gives them just a peace of mind and a guarantee that no matter what, up to the contract terms, that we're going to be out there clearing snow however many times that's stated in our contract, and that guarantees you a certain amount of revenue every year, right? Because if you get those seasons like last winter where we had barely 100 centimeters, a lot of those guys on a paper push are going out of business or losing quite a bit of money. Whereas if they went to the seasonal contract model, they're actually making a lot more money on those years. Now, it's not as much as people think. People generally in society think that on a low snow year, the snow removal companies make millions and millions of dollars, and that's not specifically the case. There are savings there on fuel and equipment usage, but I know payroll, a lot of companies pay their guys no matter what, if it snows or it doesn't snow, just so they can guarantee those employees some pay, right? So it's definitely an interesting approach. I think, like you said, that in the States compared to up in Canada for snow, but I think on the commercial side, there's definitely opportunities everywhere in the States, in the northern states, anywhere there's at least a bit of snow, 50, 100 centimeters, these businesses generally have to hire, on a liability side, they kind of have no choice but to hire to make sure that their property is safe and accessible to access. And again, you
There
said
is two
90%.
parts. There's two part in a snow removal contract. It's the insurance part and there's the operation part. So we need to sell both of them. If there's not a lot of snow in your area, sell the insurance with a little operation. If there's a lot of snow in your area, sell little insurance, sell a big amount for operation. And that's what we show in our masterclass. And it's very easy. And there was a gentleman at SIMA that was asking me about, I have difficulty to build the density. Is there a lot of snow in your area? The guy was from Nebraska, very gentleman, good gentleman. And he said, no, there's not a lot. So charge cheaper, but put a limit on your contract and build density. If there's a lot of snow one year, you'll make money. If there's no snow each year, you'll make money also. People don't care about that. They pay for insurance. They want to be covered. The life is too fast today to think about. I have to think about snow. I have to think about the pool. Everybody wants contract. Everybody wants the house to be taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Completely agree. Now, why don't you tell us, I guess, what your typical day looks like today versus what it looked like maybe back in the late 90s, early 2000s? What does your typical kind of work day look like for you?
Before, if we go back 20 years ago, we were doing snow removal 6 months a year. We were preparing 1 month. We were doing the job for like 5 months, maybe 7 months. So 1 month preparing, 5 months operating, and 1 month we close everything. Today we're doing snow removal all year long. I have to quote today some public job that went out on the government system for streets, hospital, things like that. So we're working on snow removal all year long, and we need to be very careful not to those opportunity pass by and we don't see them. So we're always looking at everything. Where is the market, the renewal, where we are with the renewal. And Daniel on the Chasse-Neige side is still working on his renewal right now. What kind of increase this year the market can take? They look about all the data we took from last winter. My guys are looking at all this. Is there some contract that we were too low? Is there contract we were too high and we're not competitive? We're taking care of all this to plan and to be the most powerful company in the market to start the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think even for myself as a smaller residential only company, I'm always thinking about snow. I mean, right now is really the time. I'd say June, July are really those down months where that's the time to think about next year, right? And some of the changes you want to implement, some of the contract renewals you want to send out, that kind of stuff. I know for us, we send our contract renewals out at the end of July, right? We send them out kind of as early as we can, and we put an early bird special in there if people pay in full before a certain date, just to kind of start the revenue process of gathering revenue kind of in those summer months and leading into the fall. I think a lot of snow guys, especially the ones that are running a landscaping, lawn, or any type of summer company, they're so deep into their operations in the summer, and June, July is typically those busy months for those landscaping guys. They kind of forget about snow until September, October, and then it's kind of too late, and they end up missing all these opportunities, right? So I think as a snow guy, you definitely have to have snow on your mind year round, and at least be thinking about it, even if it's in the back of your mind a little bit. You're still kind of creatively thinking about the next year and what you want to do, right? So now in terms of some kind of industry changes and the industry as a whole, both on the residential and the commercial side, what major changes do you see kind of coming to the Canadian snow removal industry, in these next few years compared to kind of back in the day?
Not a lot of new people coming in. When you sit down at with all your family at Christmas time and you see your nephew, your cousin, and not a lot of people will tell you, my dream is to do snow removal. So there is less people in the market. This is a big challenge. And there is less people in the workforce. Now the economy is slower. There's a bit more people, but still we need to be careful. The demand, the construction grow, the city grow, everything grow, but the needs grow, but the offer I think it's smaller. So that's a good opportunity for the one that wants to be in the market. And there's people outside the country, Mexican people, whatever, they want to work, and they are very good people with nice culture, and you can team up with those people. And summer is the time to do those kind of reflection. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. The construction here in Montreal, Laval is so aggressive. Every piece, there's a shortage of apartments. So the next 10 years, there will be apartment everywhere. So the needs will go high. And I think for the ones that are passionate by snow, are interesting in entering that market, there will be some company for sale. There will be some, I tell you, there's a lot of work to do in that business. The next, and also what we didn't spoke about that I like with the new, the young guy is the young guy are very good in technology. And now there's AI and everything coming in, and maybe some tractor will be automated in the next 10 years. I don't know, but we need to work on that. We need to be open. So I'm more than happy to think about the future of those business.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think technology is a huge point. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think technology is constantly evolving, and I think over the last kind of since COVID in the last 5-ish years with AI kind of coming out and all these different tools that people have access to, I think it just, if you can simplify and automate a lot of your business to make it so that it runs in the background and on a customer support level. I know snow removal is really big on customer support. You have to have customer support. If you don't, you're gonna be roasted online, whether it be on Facebook or whatever. Guys are gonna start going there and complaining about your company because there's no customer support, right? I think a lot of guys, snow guys, kind of overlook that portion of the business. And if they don't have a system in place to be able to handle customer requests and complaints and inquiries along with new quotes during snowstorms, and they just kind of wait till the storm's done and then start answering these people, you're losing a lot of business by doing that, right? Instead of having people in place to be able to scale your business up to a certain level that you want it, right? So now in terms of client expectations and how clients have kind of changed over the years, what differences do you see in the client expectations, I guess more so on the residential side than the commercial, from, let's say, back 15, 20 years ago compared to today? And how does that look different?
On the residential side, everybody who's want a contract. Then you'll laugh about this one, but the picket that you put in front of a parking lot is the most positive cancer on the planet. So nobody wants to talk about cancer, but the little picket you put in front of a driveway is a cancer. Each time you put one, you'll put other one. So that's a positive cancer. People want to pay for a contract for everything. So we're part of that situation. So for residential, it's very positive. Nobody wants to start a snowblower and put gas and charge some battery, and they want to play around the house what it's easy, but not their parking lot. The rush time to send the children to school in the morning, go work, be stuck in the traffic. You want things to be done. So that's the residential aspect. I think a lot of opportunity, a lot of demand. In the commercial side, there's a lot of new stuff coming in. The biggest one is health and security. We don't. Health and safety. We don't talk a lot about that, but now the company's got health and safety employee in the group, and they look about ice, snow, everything that can be dangerous for their employee, and you're part of that solution. So this is very positive, and there's a lot of needs and a lot of things coming from that standpoint. And also, like I told you, there's a lot of construction with the new kind of style of we buy everything online right now. There's warehouse everywhere because everything that you buy online needs to be stuck somewhere. All those big warehouses got some shipping to, they've got some big parking lot to take care of it. So in our cities, opportunity are crazy. So I'm more than happy about all this. And I think there's positive thing. but people need to be organized. You don't do necessarily now, I'm alone with my brother-in-law and we're doing snow removal part-time job. I don't think it's the way to go now. You want to enter the market, you organize yourself, you buy someone, you take the business of your old uncle that want to stop, you build on that, and there's a lot to do. I think we're on a good position, and there will always be snow. Whatever people talk to me about, weather is changing. It's high temperature. There will be no snow. There will be no snow. There will be more ice, but there will be something to take care of.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think global warming is not
Sure.
personally. I think it's not something that's going to change in the next couple decades. To be honest, enough that there's going to be no snow whatsoever. I think you're right. There's always going to be snow, especially in our climate here, and even just in the northern states. I think there's always going to be, like you said, if it's not snow, it's ice, or it's a mix of both, and it makes things even nastier to where snow removal companies are needed in those situations, right? I think on the residential side, I think they're obviously in Canada especially, there's obviously a big flow of immigration where a lot of people are they need more housing. There's more housing, more apartments, more. I know in our town in Embrun in Ontario, it's growing like crazy. We're just outside of Ottawa, and since COVID, there's a lot of government workers that move out to Embrun because it's slightly cheaper than in the city. So they need obviously house builders to be able to build all these houses to be able to accept the influx of people moving here. But not, and on the commercial side, like you said, I think with things going towards the online space, with all these big retailers like Amazon having to open up these large industrial facilities to store all this stuff, I think on the commercial side in the next, I mean, I think it's happening now, but especially in the next 5 to 10 years, as the transition continues to online purchases, all these businesses have massive warehouses. And whether that be in Ottawa, Montreal, typically in bigger cities, there's a huge need for these more industrial like snow removal companies that can handle that with the proper equipment, right? It's not just, pardon the pun, but chucking a pickup truck that can essentially go and plow a big Amazon warehouse, right? It just doesn't happen. And these bigger companies aren't even entertaining these type of bids, right? So it's these much larger established commercial snow companies that are getting a lot of this work. And I think if you kind of position yourself that way on the commercial side, at least, that you're able, those opportunities are just going to be more and more over the years as the online space kind of continues, right? So now in the past year, what's been your biggest, I guess, operational challenge when it comes to running the business? Is it like, finding reliable drivers? Is it equipment costs? Like you said, with Canada and the States kind of being in a bit of a trade war right now, how is some of that maybe impacted your business this past year?
My first challenge was the wall. Everybody is asking, what's the wall? The wall was, if someone don't show up, we're fucked. Excuse me. If someone don't show up, how can we will perform the route? The guy is not there in the middle of the night. So that was the first reason we built that FolloSoft system. So now anybody that don't show up can be replaced by anybody that knows our system. If you know the system and you know how to drive to operate a tractor, we're always okay. So that was my first big challenge, and we went over that with the system. Then was I think you're right about the price increases of the equipment that went like this compared to our snow removal price that went like this. So, and I think the game is not finished. I don't think you'll see some equipment price go down. Especially with what happened with the United States. I respect the relation with the United States, but it's for a little company like us, it's a tough one. I remember bought some 6,000 series John Deere for 60,000 Canadian, and 2-3 years ago was 80. 2-3 years after was 80. 2-3 years after was 120. It was a nightmare. And that was a big challenge. And at the end of the day, the biggest challenge will always be the people. Everybody can buy a machine, but you need people taking care of your customer inside the machine and made a good team with you. Whatever happened, people first. I mean, we need to build relation and make that business as sexy as people want to stay in the business and want to grow their career with us. This, I think, is one of the biggest challenge today. there's a lot other. There's technology, there's insurance, there accident, there before. If I'm thinking about 20 years ago when you were hitting a car, was costing 5K, everything was repaired. Today, you're hitting a car, it's 5,000. Only the light in the back, and once it's 5,000. And people are buying pricey cars. So there's a lot of things. And that's why you need to be very organized. You need to plan every aspect of your business. But the most challenging one, I think it's the people. If you've got those guys, girls with you, sky is the limit.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if you're finding those right employees that are just as passionate or close to it as you are about the business and about doing snow removal, I think those are the guys that they'll stick around for a number of years. And obviously, the more experience those operators get, the better they get at their job. And so, always having a high turnover of new operators is tough because there's always a learning curve at the beginning of the season for them to kind of get used to the machine. And even then, it takes, in my opinion, at least a full couple years of snow removal experience to really kind of hone in and be really good at your craft, right? So it's
The tolerance is not the same. I was buying clientele from other snow removal company a couple of years ago, and people were telling me, I lost my operator, I need to sell. And when I was doing those deals, I was questioning myself. The guy lost one or two operator and he needs to sell. I'm short of 20 guys this year.
yeah,
Do I have the problem or this guy's got a problem? But whatever, the tolerance is not the same for
yeah,
everybody. How
yeah.
old are you, Chuck?
I'm 32. 32.
I am more than happy to see guys of your age growing in that business and doing things like you do this morning. And I don't want to throw you some flowers, but I'm very happy to see those kind of interests around us. And I hope you'll have a big success in your snow removal business.
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that, Jean-Luc. It means a lot, especially coming from you. And I know for me, it was, I was served time in the military. I worked as a city worker in Ottawa, and I just was kind of tired of working for other people or working for the government, right? I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And when I looked into it at first, we moved into an area that was fairly small, about 8,000 people. So there's still a good amount of population, but it's not like Ottawa or Montreal where there's hundreds of thousands of people in one little neighborhood, right? But I think I saw an opportunity there when moving here where there was just one company doing most of the laneways on the residential side. And I figured, well, I think that's a good opportunity. And I started hearing some stories and I looked into it. For about a year and a half prior to starting the company, I started researching snow removal equipment, softwares, all that kind of stuff, and decided, you know what, why not, right? It seemed like the market was kind of ripe for another company to come in, and we did that, and I think so far we've done it fairly successfully without me having a ton of business experience prior to that. But I had other skills that were definitely transferable, especially on the customer service side coming in, and not only that, but the operational experience that I had in the middle of emergency situations where snow removal is very operational and reactive as an industry, right?
Military experience is the best one for snow removal.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And actually, we have a few veterans that we'll be bringing on this year as operators. And for me, it's a no brainer because those guys are used to hard work. They're used to waking up early in the morning and going out and working in bad conditions. So, and then when they're off, they can enjoy their time when it's not snowing and it's off, right? So there's a lot of downtime in the winter where, if you're not out there blowing or you're not doing maintenance on the machines, at that point it's just kind of time to relax. And I think the military guys as employees can kind of appreciate that, grinding it out and working long hours and then having a break after that, right? So now let's talk a bit about kind of work-life balance and the reality of running a snow business. So how do you manage the unpredictableness of the snow industry and running two different companies, and how do you compare that with family time? And I know you mentioned you have 4-year-old twins at home, so how do you kind of manage that balance between owning and running two businesses and your personal time?
People, and people. Having people around me taking care of the businesses better than what I do today. First 4 or 5 guys around me, they grow their skill higher than mine, and I'm sharing the result of those businesses with them. every year. That's the way to go to increase the quality life. And I'm not on the, I don't believe that people that do 100 hours behind the steering wheel, after that they manage and they do mechanic and they buy parts and they change the machine and they fix the building is the way to go. There are always better people than yourself that can handle this for you. And that's the way I'm working. My partner are very skilled on their specific aspect of job they have to perform. And at the end of the day, you need to share the result of those business with them. And that's the way to go to get a nice life. Do I woke up at night to go for, I'm still jumping in a loader not every snowstorm, but often if there's a guy missing or vacation to cover, I will not do 20 hours in a row, but nobody does 20 hours in a row in our company. When we do 12, it's a big run because the density is high. So I'm doing like 6 to 8 hours to help and still know what happened on the field. I want to see what happened on that field. Are the guys are good? Do we still do the right thing at the right moment? And so I think it's the way to balance. If you're alone and do everything alone, and you tell me in the master class, I have no choice. There's not enough money to, if there's not enough money, is your price are not right, or you didn't buy the good equipment, or you have too much equipment or too much people to pay, or your setup is bad. And that what we try to fix with our guys to standardize all this. Like I told you before, we show and we share what we did. And I told those guys, you just have to do the same and it works. So that's, the first dream of me and Danielle about, and we put that on at the SIMA in the TV screen. Our dream was to increase the quality life of each snow removal people. And do you know what? With the FolloSoft system, we get to that gold, a bit of that gold right in the first year of all those people. So, if you want to still grow and continue as you're 32 now, I'm 50 this year. So if you want to still alive in that business, you need to have a good quality life. You need to be happy, balance around that. And I think it's coming from people that you will hire and you will build that business around that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's definitely different facets of running a business that will help you kind of not only scale the business, but then have yourself kind of removed from the daily stuff. But I think as a snow professional, no owner out there or not many, I would say, are not kind of in the trenches with the guys at certain points during the winter. Like you said, when there's guys that are booking off sick, when there's guys that are missing or whatever it is. I know for myself, I still drive every now and then as well. I know this past year was actually the year I drove the most just because I wanted to, right? So instead of calling out a spare to come on, I would just go out myself, knowing that I had the proper systems in place to handle customer support, to handle the operations, and to handle that decision making when you're not there, right? So relying on those guys, those key guys within your company. I know we've had 2, 3 guys that have stuck around now since the beginning. And obviously we've lost a couple to going to other jobs, government jobs and other career paths. But I think trying to keep those good guys that have been with you for quite some time is really important to being able to have those guys in places that they can make decisions and they can grow themselves on a professional level while you're able to kind of work a little bit more on the business itself. So, and I guess for you during the winter time, then like is there ever times that you actually enjoy winter and out playing in the snow with your family, or are you always kind of thinking about every snowflake and it's always a calculation on a business level?
My partner Cedric is likes snowmobile and all those things. And no. I have young kids. I had my kids at 45. And no, the biggest part of my job is to plan everything, to sign my contract. And this is 15th of August to, I will say, 15th of November. And after that is everything is based on operation, and I'm not the key guy of operation. my partner Cedric, my partner Jonathan, and Brian, all those guys in my business take care of that. And they don't have to take care about renewal. It's my side. So everybody in their specific section of the business, and that made me able to go skiing also with and play outside with the kids. So very important for me. I'm a winter guy, not only for doing snow. I'm a winter guy for activity. I like to play outside, and I still don't laugh. I still shovel my own driveway myself with I have a machine at home. I have a little toolcat, a Bobcat toolcat, and I do all my things. Even if I'm working on snow and then I do myself at the end of everything, I still take care of that with my kids, and it's a big part of that balance.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think a snow professional is deep down like snow, and if you don't like snow, I mean, I'm not sure why you'd be in the business, but I know for us, I can relate with that because my wife and I will shovel every now and then as well, right? If it's, let's say this starts snowing in the late mid to late afternoon into the evening, and we know we're not going to be going out that evening because there's not enough snow until, let's say, 2 o'clock the next morning. We'll sometimes go out and shovel at 7, 8 o'clock at night. And for the most part, we're shoveling our porch and our at the front, at least if the machine hasn't passed by. All right. Our roots obviously go by in front of our own house, but we're the type two to kind of go out and do that on our own as well.
Someone asked me, Chuck, I'm tired. They tell me I'm tired about snow. I ask them, does snow starts and finish in your life, or it's only starts? Is there only a beginning when the season starts? It's finish at the end is only 15th of April. You've got a problem. You'll kill yourself. It's too rough. If you're the key man of everything, you're the salt guy, you're the mechanic, you're the every, that's not what we will show you how to do it in our master classes. Even if you're maybe putting money on the side, I mean, losing money a bit, sometimes you need to share with good people this result, even if there's a bit less in your pocket, but you need to protect the balance and you need to protect the family. If the family doesn't go well at home, you're not able to perform a business so intense like this.
Yeah,
Impossible.
I completely agree. I think it definitely takes a good family of or a good support system at least to be able to run and scale a business like this. I just don't think it's sustainable, like you mentioned, to be alone, to be the salt guy, to be the clearing guy, to be the customer support
You
guy.
need to have a compensation system also. You need to understand that your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, there is half of those snowstorm coming in the weekend, coming in Christmas, coming in Valentine's Day,
Yeah,
and you've got a partner at home that see you go every weekend when she works all week for you need to compensate that. This is very important. If it's only you and at the end you'll be alone with your snow removal company, that's not what we want for our community.
yeah, yeah, completely agree.
Also, we're like I told you, I'm very happy because your question are. I think you think a lot about all this, and I'm impressed about that, Chuck. But um, you need to be careful about what kind of advice people are giving right now in the industry. The web side of the things make people talks a lot, and there's a lot of people talk about experience that they don't have. We're just talking about 30 years of experience, and we're talking about 20 years of result. So
Yeah,
people need to be careful from who they take their advice. And there's a lot of good guys on the field right now that's got a lot of experience to share. And if we can team up together, it will make that industry better and better.
yeah. I completely agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think there's a lot of, especially the younger generation now. It seems like you go into a business or an industry for a couple years, and then you kind of branch off and become this expert in that industry specifically with only a limited number of years of experience. And a lot of people, especially younger people, are listening to this advice and taking it at face value and trying to implement those pieces of advice that they've received from others that maybe not have as much experience, and they end up making mistakes and realizing, you know what, okay, maybe this wasn't a great idea, I shouldn't have necessarily followed this advice, and then they get nervous to follow any other advice that they get later in down the road because just have that trust issue with getting a bad advice early on in their careers, right? So I think for
Yeah.
myself, I'm still new in business. I consider myself new. I've got 3 years, which is to me is still brand new, right? I've only started this and we've only had 3 seasons, but I think the results based on a limited number of experience, right? If you've made 2, 3, 4, 5 million a year and you've only been in business for 2, 3, 4 years, there's a sustainability factor that isn't there yet, right? You haven't sustained this business for 10, 15, 20, 30 years to prove that year over year it's going to keep working, right? I know there's a lot of guys in the industry that kind of explode and end up making several million in their first few years and think that they're experienced enough to provide advice to others, and that's not necessarily the case, right? I know for us, we're trying to get a wide range of people on this podcast just to give different perspectives on, somebody that's in the middle of starting their business and what does that look like for them, right? So I'd like to get a few guys on the podcast later this fall or even into the winter that just started this past year or are starting this upcoming winter, right? There's a couple guys that have reached out to me for a bit of advice and stuff, and I'm clear at the beginning of the conversation and say, listen, I've only got 3 years experience, but here's what I did, right? But just keep that in mind. There's other guys out there with 25, 30 years experience that you're better off getting advice from, right? So but then again, it's sometimes hearing the stories of people in their first couple years of their business that might light some kind of light in somebody's mind that's just starting out in that process and that thinks, well, the guy that has 30 years of experience told me this one thing and it's maybe not as true as it was back in the day compared to what it is now, right? Because the machinery nowadays is much more expensive. Insurance is getting up there as well. So there's different factors that some people may not consider until they talk to several people that have multiple years of experience, right? So now when it comes to the future then of your business with both the commercial and the residential, where do you see both businesses in the next few years? And I guess what's the vision for the growth of the business going forward?
Less growth, more profit, more optimization, more technology, retaining our people with special activity or special project inside the business that our people take care of, sharing those results with the people. I'm always like concerned seeing young guys on the web saying, I will help you grow your business, grow your business. It's not a question of growing. We need to grow, stay secure, make profit at the end. And if you're the only stars of that business, what happened with the other one? The more light you put on yourself, less is on the other. So our perspective is on sharing that with other company, building a community around us, sharing some high volume discount on buying equipment with other guys. So instead of buying 25 tractor a year, I want to buy 100, but share 2 with you, Chuck. I want you, because you're on the FolloSoft system, I want you to have the best price and make more profit at the end. And I don't care if you do money. If you do money, I'm doing money. So I'm happy for you. This is the kind of vision of the future, more than telling you we're doing 18 million, we want to do 25. This is completely not the priority right now. Priority is build our community, keep our people, have special project, and increase the quality life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think once you
We
get
want to
up to a
be
certain,
there for a long time. We want to be
yeah,
there long.
yeah. Well, once you get up to a certain point in business and you're making, a certain amount of revenue per year, I think, like you said, it's not necessarily about growing the revenue side. It's about really optimizing, essentially the other side of the business, which is saving time, saving costs. Where can you trim costs that are unnecessary within your business? And I think time is something that contractors don't necessarily value as much as maybe other industries, but I think saving time in certain processes within your business allows you to work on other things at that time, right? Like you said, with the software, having a software to manage essentially the majority of the business and to have a central place to be able to manage everything, not only on the operations side, but on the billing, on the contract side, just allows you a little bit more freedom with time and having time to spend elsewhere in your business, right? I know for us, we started year one with FolloSoft, and I don't regret it one bit. Was it a decent investment to start out before I even had any clients? Absolutely. I mean, I was nervous, right? Sending that amount of money when I had just barely made a little bit of revenue, but knowing that I had something that I thought was going to work that first year, and kind of taking a little bit of a risk. But I don't regret it one bit looking back now, just because of the time that it helped me save, and just the efficiency and the organization that I had within the business the first year of essentially having a central place to keep everybody who reached out to me that first year, whether they signed up or they didn't. I have them in my system, and I can retarget them years after. And again, having that central place is kind of, I think, really important. So let's kind of transition to technology. Sorry, within the snow removal world, obviously we both represents FolloSoft in some capacity. So why don't you tell our listeners kind of how FolloSoft kind of first started, those early days, and kind of what drew you to kind of help out with such a big project like that?
FolloSoft started 15 years ago, and we start selling it to people, to other people, maybe 5, 6 years ago. FolloSoft is based on reliability. Even if the system will go down, it will come back in 5 minutes because there's a huge team behind that. Now there is a huge team. Before that, there was not. FolloSoft is made by and made for snow removal people. And FolloSoft before was a software. Today, we want FolloSoft to be a software and a community. We want to team up with all those customers, and we want to be in the field to solve their challenge. One guy told me at the SIMA, if I do this and this, I'm afraid. I said, no, try it. It will work. He said, afraid. You're afraid of what? I'm afraid of going bankruptcy. I will never let you go bankruptcy because you're in my community. I will always support you. Don't be afraid. Go get the job. So that's the kind of thing we want to go with the technology. On the technology side, you cannot imagine what is on our plan right now. It's just a question of time and team to build it. With new technology coming in, we're talking about the new commercial version of FolloSoft that it's coming out soon. That will be a game changer. We're talking about cameras. We're talking about automation. There's so much thing. I cannot now. There's a lot of competition and there's a lot of technology on the field, and I'm a bit more restrictive on my comment. FolloSoft it's a passionate team and will still improve every year like this.
Yeah.
You'll
I
see a
completely
lot
agree.
of different things.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely some big changes coming up, this year, and I'm definitely excited for a lot of those changes. So, and what I like about FolloSoft is a software where the support team and the team behind the scenes is constantly working to improve things. Right? It's an ever changing environment and industry. I think with snow removal, with technology kind of being involved now with AI and automations and all this stuff. I think most softwares out there have no choice but to kind of start taking leaps forward and improving their software, their technology constantly, right? Because there's constantly other people within the technology field that are creating other softwares and creating other things. And I think it's definitely something that over the years, I've definitely seen a lot of positive changes over the last 3 years since I've been personally using it, with just edits and modifications to the software to make it easier to use, and just improving it bit by bit, right? So in terms of managing,
Something to tell
yeah,
you,
go ahead.
that is that, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good system on the field right now. Very good system other than FolloSoft. I will never say opposite than that. But the way we will manage the community in the future, FolloSoft will cost nothing. And now people are telling you, what's that? Because if you're part of FolloSoft, you'll save on everything you buy. So if you want a new metal test blade, I will make you save $2,000 in the first year on your metal test. I will make you save 5,000 grand on your tractor. So each time you'll buy new equipment with the FolloSoft team or whatever, your system will cost nothing. So this is little thing that outside the software, because I told you, everybody can build a good software. But what's the difference with FolloSoft? It's that community aspect, support aspect. Each time you will have, I had an accident, I have a problem, call us, we'll help you, we'll guide you. This is what we do when something like this happens. And we'll still continue to improve technology. So if I need to buy a system tomorrow, FolloSoft offer me all that support, volume discount, advice, and I don't know what the other are offering. I'm not working for them, but we're from the industry. We're there since 30 years. Our results show that we do profit, and that's our offer.
Yeah. No, I think
Sorry.
nowadays softwares and communities, like you said, I think nowadays we're kind of moving more towards the community based platforms and softwares where if there's a support side and a side to that there's other people involved in that community using the products and giving advice back to new users. I think that's where the future is in the online space right now when it comes to kind of building a software, building a product online, is to kind of build a community around it. And I think there's enough FolloSoft users out there that are already kind of part of that community, right? Like there's already Facebook groups out there with FolloSoft Facebook groups and just different groups where people can share different ideas and different things. But I think it's a matter of relying on good experienced people to take advice from, right? It's not necessarily the new guys. I know for me, I'll give as much advice as I can to new guys, but I tell them up front, I've only been doing this for 3 years, right? So this isn't something that you become an expert in within 3, 5, even 10 years. Some guys don't really figure it out until 15, 20 years down the road, right? So it's something that if you can take a shortcut, be part of the FollowSoft community like this. Obviously, yes, you get the software, you get the platform to be able to manage your business on, but you also get that community support and people to kind of rely on. Now, in terms of the master classes, I know you mentioned that. What's I guess, can you tell us a little bit about that and what's involved with that as much as you can without sharing too much?
Masterclass is subject that we came out with, me and Danielle, different specific subject that was always the same question, and we build masterclass around that. We are now open to receive also questions from people, and if it's enough to build a 30-minute masterclass, we'll still produce some masterclass on it. So it's different specific challenge or question that people go through on the snow removal side that we talk about, and we try to go deep. Other than that, people are more than welcome to take appointment with us. We'll do specific coaching one by one, and we can go deeper and deeper in those questions. But the masterclass will go over the major answer of those questions, and it's for everybody. I mean, it's for especially for the FolloSoft community or the one that wants to come in with us. So a lot of tips, a lot of on every subject, financial, buying machine, do I do commercial or residential? Why? Every question. I want to go out that my timing is not good. I'm always late. Whatever.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
want to
No,
go.
I think snow guys are constantly, you're constantly able to work on your business, especially on the operations side. Like you said, timing is everything. I think if you go out too early, it's not really a good situation. If you go out too late, obviously customers aren't happy. So I think there's a fine balance, on the industry as a whole.
There's 50 questions possible, and there's a lot of good answer. We try to answer as we deal with those things. I mean, maybe some people don't share the same opinion, but we share tips that works. It's always the same. We're selling a software that works. If my server go down, there's 200 more server. If my guy don't show up, my computer guys, I have 3 other guys working with us. We're partners. So it's the same thing for the masterclass. We're sharing tips that works and make profit. If you don't want to follow it, you're more than welcome to close it. But it's free. It's for people. I want to tell you a funny one about the level we want to support our people. Last year, there was a guy in Laval called me a FolloSoft customer. Hey, Jean-Luc, I have 3 tractors. I have one down since an hour, and now the second one go down. Oh, okay. And the dealer told me there are 2 hours or 3 hours left until the mechanic guy will show up. So I asked him, what kind of tractor you have? The guy told me a brand. I said, hey, this brand is far from where you work, my friend. He said, yes, I know. If you have bought something else, I will help you in a minute. That's the first advice. That's one of the master class. I know I'm fucked, but he's part of the FolloSoft community. So I said, give me some news in 2 hours if the mechanic didn't show up. So 2 hours after, 5 hours after, he called me back. I have one tractor works, but the other one doesn't work, and I'm very afraid we'll not be able to be there for 7 o'clock the next morning. I said, don't worry. There's 2 other tractor in your route right now. My guys are there. So that's the kind of support. My guys, I have spare guys always work around. So I send them like 2 guys for 2 hours. They don't make as quality the guy was doing, but the guy was amazed. We did like 75% of what this tractor didn't do. And when the tractor was repaired, he went up and there was not a disaster. So we want to be there for our people. I want the people to know that whatever the situation, there's 300 piece of equipment here. So we're very serious for helping our
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm really glad to hear that. Honestly, I think you and Danielle specifically are doing some good work with FolloSoft and being kind of a face to present to people of what success looks like in the snow removal industry, right? So now, I guess before you were using FolloSoft, and I'm curious, what were you using to manage your routes, not only to be able to kind of supervise them, but the operators themselves? What did they use? How were you able to track your crews and handle everything?
Paper and pen. It was I don't even know understand today how we went big as that without system. We were able to do it because the main partner of the company was always covering what the others were not able to do. So we were working like 30 hours for one snowstorm just to cover everything by ourselves. That was the way. And this is not a quality life between you and me. So the technology was the solution for that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. So for the contractors then listening that are still running everything on paper and pen and spreadsheets and that kind of stuff, what would you tell them specifically about making the jump to a more comprehensive platform or technology like FollowSoft?
I told them each time, at the end of the day, the system will cost you nothing because we will share so much thing. And is it your wife in the office? Half of them say, yes, it's my wife taking care of that. You don't love her. So you need you need to jump on a system. We're in 2025 and you want to do business, you want to grow, you want to be better. It's the way to go. And if you're on my system and we sit down together and I open 2 page, I can tell you, oh, there's a problem there. Oh, there's a problem there. In 5 minutes, we will take care of, you will change something without the system. Some of people ask me, hey, can you help me? Yes, I can help you, but are you not on the system? No. Where do we start? System, it's 2 minutes. I can set, I don't know anything about your business, Chuck, but if I sit down with you for 5 minutes, I'll tell you a lot on you need to check out this is a lot of mileage between your customer. The price is low. There's not a lot of customer in that route. You need to increase that. But you tell me something funny to a couple of minutes ago. There was 8,000 houses around where you work. That's what you told me. 8,000?
8,000 people. There's about 3,800 homes that we can actually service. So our 3,800 properties. Now that's counting some of the more rural properties on the outskirts of town. So there's maybe about 3,700 serviceable laneways, like single, double, triple, or customs that I can actually serve in my area.
Around 4,000.
Around just under 4,000.
So
yeah.
if we know that 50% of them take a contract, it's 2,000, and I want you to have 30% of that. So that's first thing. And I think you're already over that. You tell me that you've got 500 customer. I don't.
Yeah.
400.
We're under 500, about 430 that we ended this past winter with.
So that means you're already not too bad for density in that area. So
yeah,
maybe
there's specific areas. I'd say the new developments were at a good percentage. Some of the older developments, like in the middle of town, it's typically people that have been in Emblem for so long, and it's more of a rural type of I can do it myself type of town and attitude that we have here. So there's a lot of people still in the middle of the the village that still don't hire because of some of those reasons. So for me, on a marketing level, and obviously sales, but more so marketing, is to try and target those specific areas just to build density, right? And obviously, the more pickets you have in those areas, the better it is, right? So I think the new developments have grown much quicker than I thought, just because of our presence online. I think once you go online and you find us right away, and you're able to get a quote fairly quickly, and at that point you kind of made your decision, right? I think your online presence as a snow removal company can kind of indicate whether or not you're a great company, right? We're really proud of our 5-star Google rating. So as soon as somebody searches our name and sees over 100 reviews, I think we're at about 130 now with 5-star 5-star review. At that point, what is there to argue about, right? So it's I think online nowadays is a huge thing that contractors, and more so snow removal contractors, are kind of missing out on. They kind of rely on word of mouth and their pickets at the end of the laneways, and they don't think that being online isn't as important. But I think in the snow removal industry, getting your name out there, and at least so when people think about hiring, they're going to think of you because they've seen you online multiple times already, right? So
There's the cancer I talked to you about, the picket, positive cancer. And don't get me wrong, there's still a place. You talk about a rural sector of the city that was more maybe old style, or you can still take 1 week of your time and go get those customers one to each other. You can send anybody with a good smile talking about what you do, and you're not losing your time because those customers will stay with you for 10 years after. All those people are getting older. So at the end of the day, they need you. So there's business to do there. Each territory's got a challenge and it's got a solution to get those jobs.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think different markets are the same as well. Maybe, a place in Southern Ontario down near the US border might not, be as fruitful as let's say Montreal. I think Montreal, Ottawa, that area specifically is been established. The residential model, snow removal model, has been established over the years. And I think in the States, they're still kind of having issues kind of presenting the type of service that it is, right? I think but again, it comes down to marketing and what are you putting out there to the public for your service, and what you're offering and what you're charging and all that kind of stuff, right? It's I think in the States they're missing out on that portion. They think they can kind of copy what Montreal is doing, and that's not necessarily the case, because Montreal, it's been around for 30-40 years, whereas in the States it's more of a newer business model that people aren't so used to, right? Paying the whole season up front or in installments, but essentially paying a bigger amount for the entire season, kind of like an insurance policy, is maybe a bit more nerve-wracking to them, right? It's well, we might not get any snow at all, right? So what's the use of paying this? But I think if you're able to sell it like an insurance premium, where, listen, if you pay this, no matter what, if it snows this amount, we're going to come out and you're going to be taken care of, and it's just that peace of mind factor on the seasonal contract, I think, that it offers to your clients, right? So that's what I kind of sell it as, is an insurance type of premium. At the same time, our cap, our limit in our contract is higher than other people in our area. So that's where we kind of, our selling points are as well, is the amount of times we come out compared to the competitors, and our 300 centimeter cap per year rather than 250, which other contractors are typically at, right? So there's little points in there that you can kind of sell on. But I think the density is obviously the most important part. I think in the snow removal residential model is really that density. The more density you have, the more houses and properties you can service in a smaller amount of time, and the better your service is as a result of that, right? If you can clear everybody in 4 or 5 hours and go out there twice a day on bigger storms, and some companies it only takes them 7-8 hours to go out once. Well, that you double that's 16 hours a day that they're out there clearing laneways, where you're only going for 10-12 hours.
I prefer
right?
hearing numbers like 3-4 hours than 5-6.
Yeah,
That's
I
part
know.
of the masterclass.
Yeah, I know for us, it's interesting that you say that, because we have some routes that I have a route specifically in my neighborhood that's 160 houses, and I can do that one in under 4 hours. But you have another route that has 80 or 90 houses, but it's spread out a little bit more, maybe a few bigger properties on there. And that one might take 4 to 4.5 hours, right? So I think that's where density really comes in.
Challenge.
To where
We need to work on this one. That's it.
Yeah. There you go. Right on. So we'll move on to this kind of last segment here, which is just kind of a rapid fire question round. So what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received in your snow removal career?
There is no bad contract there's only bad pricing.
I like that one. I like that one, especially for the contract model. That's definitely an important factor there. And then what's one piece of equipment or machinery that you absolutely can't run your business without?
A tractor for residential, a loader for commercial.
There you go. And then if contractors, snow removal guys out there want to check out your work or connect with you, where can they find you and how can they find you?
They can call me. They can call the office. They can reach me on my cell. They can text me. They can send me an email. I'm always open to talk about snow. If I'm not, I will always reach out to people and take a certain amount of time for them.
Right on, right on. Sounds good. Well, Jean-Luc, this has been fantastic, and thanks a lot for sharing your insights here about building a successful seasonal snow removal operation, and obviously your experience with FolloSoft. I'm really looking forward to the future this next year here and seeing what how FolloSoft is really going to kind of change the industry. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
And I thank you, Chuck, for the quality of your question, for your passion. And I'm very happy to see young guy like you coming in with those type of podcasts. Is very interesting. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, thanks a lot, Jean-Luc. I appreciate the
Bye-bye.
kind words. So for everybody listening, make sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next week with another contractor sharing their blueprint for success. And until then, keep plowing and keep growing.